If you're looking for me, I'm not up there. I'm right here. Hi. Hello. Yeah. Hi, everyone. How's it going? You know, it's a funny thing we do, isn't it? That whenever we look for leadership, knowledge, wisdom, we typically look to the front to find it. As if for some reason, leadership, knowledge, wisdom is always among those that stand higher than everyone else. Call it a virtue of what we're taught from the moment that we're born. You sit in class, you look to the front. When you're talking to your parents, you typically look up. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's one thing I want you to remember, is sometimes leadership isn't always discovered in the front. Sometimes true leadership is right beside you. Sometimes true leadership might be behind you. But every single time, the most true form of leadership is already inside of you. So you think, in the month of February, all these amazing leaders that we celebrate every single year, Martin Luther King, all these amazing people, all these names that we hear, I ask you, what makes them a true leader? What makes them so worthy of that celebration long after they have gone? What is it? Is it because they have always stood at the front of the room? Is it because they might be wearing the most good-looking suits or dresses? Is that what makes them a true leader? I bet you if I asked Martin Luther King and I put him right in front of me here today and I said, what makes you a leader? I think he would say something like this. But actually, before we get into that, I want to ask you a question. It's a question I love asking every single speech. It's a question that we hear almost every single day. So much, so many times, in fact, that we have an automatic answer. We don't even think twice about it. The question goes like this. Just 3 words. Very simple. Who are you? Our answer is quick. Oh, you don't believe me? Watch. Who are you, my friend?
Curtis.
Good answer. And who are you, my friend?
Jordan.
Oh, great answer. I love it. This is an interactive poem. And who are you?
Charlotte.
Great answers. See, ladies and gentlemen, for whatever reason it may be, whenever we are asked the question, who are you, our very first response is our name. Imagine I asked you a second time. What would you say then? Oh, you still don't believe me. Let me try this again. Okay, my friend, without telling me your name, who are you?
I'm a fun guy.
I love it. Great answer. Without telling me your name, who are you?
A woman.
Great answer. One more time. One more time. Without telling me your name, who are you?
I'm from Ghana.
Great. If I asked you a third time, without telling me your name, without telling me what you do, without telling me your reputation, your position, where you're from, what would you say then? Ladies and gentlemen, we think our identity is given to us. We think who we are might just be because we are a poet. We think who we are might just be because we can sing, as beautiful as we can sing. We think who we are is ascribed within what we do. No. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the second thing I want you to remember here today. Who we are is in what we represent. I asked you a few minutes ago if I put Martin Luther King in front of me today, and I asked him who he was. What do you think he would say? Do you think he would say, I am a leader? Do you think he would say, I am a good speaker? No, if I asked Martin Luther King say today, and I said, who are you? I think he would say, I am freedom. I think he would say, I represent exactly what my people want. So when I ask you, what makes him a leader? There's your answer right there. Who are you? It's a question I struggle to answer all the time. It's a question we all struggle to answer. It's a story I love to say. This is called the story of the slave with no name. It goes a little like this. Many, many years ago, during the height of the slave era, there was one particular plantation that was special because it was the worst of the worst. No one wanted to go there. This plantation had the reputation of having the most cruel slave masters, where they sent the most undesirable of slaves. But this wasn't the one reason that made this plantation the most unique. No. This plantation was the most unique because they had one particular slave that everyone knew. This boy couldn't have been, 5 years old when he was first brought in. Special among the rest of them because nobody knew his name. And he never said a word. His masters took advantage of this. So they starved him. They abused him. They beat him. And this went on for many, many years. But in an odd twist of fate, the plantation had gone out of business. And they had decided to let all the slaves go. So when news broke among the group, they all left quickly, didn't even say a word, didn't look back, just left. The next morning, the slave masters were cleaning out their farm, and they walked into a building and they saw none other than the slave with no name. So they asked him, they said, I thought we let you all go. Why are you still here? Slave with no name stood there, didn't say a word. So they asked him a second time, a little bit angrier. Why won't you leave and be free? Slave with no name stood there, looked at him, didn't say a word. And they asked him one more time, not angry, just confused. Why do you stay? Why won't you leave and be free? Slave with no name one more time stood there, looked at him, and for the first time in his entire life, he spoke. And he said this, because I don't know who I am. I don't even know my name. And this, as painful as it may be, this is all I've ever known. See, ladies and gentlemen, most people in this world would rather stick with what they know than take the chance to discover who they are. You ever wonder why people stay in relationships where they're unhappy? Stay in jobs where they're unhappy? Stay doing things where they're unhappy? It's because most people would rather stick amongst their suffering than to take the chance, look themselves in the mirror and say, who are you? Most people. You see, for me, this question was beating in my chest almost every single day. Unbearable. I couldn't take it. 17 years old, sitting in my room, and I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do, struggling with my identity. Identity is complicated, isn't it? Oh, it sure is. Sitting there wondering, and I'm like, I want to say something. I have a message. I want to spread positivity, messages, values, all these things to so many different people, but how do I do it? How do I do it? I took the chance, got on stage and a random talent show in my high school, and I said, you know what? I want to speak. I want to talk. I have things I want to say, ideas I want to put forward, and values I want to give back. Values that I've learned. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the first time in my entire life where I felt at home. Like this, on stage, with a mic, speaking in front of everyone. First time in my entire life when I said, wow, this is who I am. And all it took was one little decision. To stand amongst everyone outside of what I know, outside of my comfortability, because if I told my group of friends in the moment that I'm getting on stage and doing poetry, they'd laugh me out of the room. That's what I knew. That's what my suffering was. You ever heard the saying, birds of a feather flock together? You become who you surround yourself with. You think your identity is given to you by your groups, your jobs, your friends, your family. Your identity is not something that's given. Your identity, who you are, starts here and only here. So the question, who are you, shouldn't be something as simple as saying your name. Shouldn't be something as simple as saying where you're from, what you do, that position you try so desperately to hold, that reputation you worked your entire life to build. Who does that please? At the very end of the day, you put your head on that pillow. Who are you? Let's go a little deeper. Who are you when you're at work? Who are you when you're at home? Who are you when you're with your friends? Who are you when you're at school? Let's go a little deeper than that. Which one of those is the real you? Which one? Yet you sit there and wonder why you struggle with your identity. You're playing 100 different people 10 times a day. You go from one to the other, to the next, to the next, to the next, and you sit there, and at the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, what did I even do? I was at work, I was with my friends, I went to go see my in-laws, I was doing all these different things, I was playing these different people. Which one of those is the real you? I argue the real you is who you are when you're alone. That's who the real you is. The thing that keeps you up at night, the thing that's beating in your chest saying, I want more, that's the real you screaming at you every single day. I urge you all to listen to who that is. There is something inside of you that's screaming, let me out. I asked you a few minutes ago what made these leaders so worthy of that celebration. It's because every single one of them, it's not because they could write the best speeches, it's not because they did the most. Every single one of them took that identity outside of them, showed it to the world, and said, this is who I am. Thank you.